Welcome to the IDP Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter. As you guys know, I'm a writer over at IDP Plus and at Fantasy Six Pack. I'm also on Fantasy Pros. I'm the number 4 IDP ranker. I'm joined tonight with Joseph Haggans, alias Joey the Tooth. If you're not familiar with Joey the Tooth, you should be. He writes articles all over the place. IDP Show, IDP Plus. More recently, his content is all over Football Guys, so please check that out. Mr. Tooth here, he does a lot of intelligence, a lot of great analyzation, so I'm really glad to have you on today, Joe. I'm really glad to discuss this expert mock draft that you were a part of. Actually, me and you have been in a lot of drafts here recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done quite a few recently.
So what have you been up to?
Projections mostly, nailing down my projections. I did my preseason, and then I've updated probably 3 or 4 times since. So it's just trying to stay on top of projections because we have the tool at Football Guys that runs off of our projections, sets up rankings based off of projections and whatnot. And we have the Draft Dominator where you can set up to, do you want to do a rebuild? And then you can set it's a meter. You start, I'm going to do a rebuild, and then it sets to youth, or you want to win now, and it'll change to, because it's all age based as well. And then it's going to change the rankings based off of age. So it's all projections based with the Draft Dominator. So I have to make sure my projections are pretty much on point, and people are already drafting. So I have to make sure they're up to date regularly.
Yeah. If they're like me, I do most of my damage in like the off season, because this is the only time I could get an honest trade off, because those trade calculators are just like killing it for us sharks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Joe, how long you been over at the Football Guys now?
This is my second season. Yeah, it's my second season, second full season.
I was going to say, because you've been writing a while now. I want to say, because like I said, I'm a fan of your work. You write a lot of intelligent, very well-detailed work. At least, since 2018, right? How long have you been in the game?
Yeah, 2018. I started with, before it was IDP Plus, I started with IDP Guys. I just went on Twitter, and I started putting stuff out on Twitter, and Nate reached out to me, and he asked if I wanted to join the team, and I said, sure. Come to find out, we live 30 minutes from each other. So we started hanging out. We got to know each other. And I think in the 3.5 years I was with IDP Guys, I think it was like 363 articles.
Holy smokes. Yeah, they got like over 40 writers now. In fact, for my audience on Spotify that can't see the screen, we're about to pull up the mock draft that me and Joey the Tooth were a part of. But if you ever want to, right now, IDP Plus, they're running a special, $9.99 right now. They're doing this whole entire rookie mag, well in depth. And I'm gonna have to check out Football Guys in the trade calculator and everything you've been saying. I look forward to articles written by Joey the Tooth. Now I gotta ask you, when I hear that nickname, Joey the Tooth, it sounds like something out of a Goodfellas movie. It sounds like a Dick Tracy comic. Where did you come up with the nickname Joey the Tooth? I gotta ask.
All right, so it's not that exciting actually. It's nowhere close to as exciting as Goodfellas or anything like that. But it was me and my best friend Matt, who I call Snacks, growing up. So he always had like a 1-liter Pepsi and a Snickers bar, and we were slightly inebriated. We were probably in our early 20s, and he just looks over at me, and he's like, "You have the smallest teeth I've ever seen." I was like, "What?" He's like, "You have like dolphin teeth, man. I'm going to call you Joey the Tooth." I'm like, "Well, all right, I call you Snacks, so whatever. We're good." so that's how I got the nickname Joey the Tooth, just being drunk with a friend, and he said I had small teeth. I've known this kid, I've really known him my entire life, and when we were in our 20s, that's what he noticed and decided.
And his name was Snacks. So you got cool guy names. You got Snacks. You got Joey the Tooth. You know, yeah. So I haven't seen you. I know we've been doing a lot of drafts together. You got any like podcasts or any articles you got coming up?
Actually, by the end of this week, it's actually a collaborative article I do with Kyle Bellafuel. We do it every year with Football Guys. It's our second year doing it, but we do top 10 pre-draft rookies at each position. IDL, edge, linebacker, and defensive back. And then once the draft's done, me and Kyle do our top 50 rankings, and then we do a consensus top 40 IDP big board. So Friday, it should be Friday or this weekend, it's going to come out, and it's going to have our top 40 IDPs to draft from this rookie draft, from the NFL draft.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. So I know Kyle as well, and Kyle was the 13th All-Star that I had lined up for our All-Star draft, but he needed a break. I will say this for the people that don't know, Kyle, you guys need to know him as well. Every best ball draft, because this time of year it's just so easy. It's easy cleanup. You draft and you're done. You draft, you're done. I don't got to worry about setting it. Every best ball draft that I did with the IDP Tipsters page, he won. He won every single best ball. So Kyle's like he's like a genius when it comes to best ball. I don't know. I'm just gonna just appreciate the moment and glad to know. But yeah, you two together, that's gonna be a dangerous team. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun with Kyle too. He's such a laid back guy. He's just a fun guy.
I really wanted him in this draft that I'm about to show the audience. For those on Spotify that can't see my screen, I just pulled up Sleeper. We didn't have the IDP players till after the draft, so I kind of inserted them, but we were doing it off of Word doc, off of Twitter. But I couldn't get Kyle in. So here's kind of the all-star cast. Let me just read who I got. I'm pretty excited. We had a Royal Rumble of sorts, if you will. I got Steve Schulz. He's over there at RPO Football. He writes for IDP Guys. He's an up-and-comer. I've had him on the show a couple times. He's also a scout at the Senior Bowl. He had the 1.1 pick. 1.2, we had Dennis Sosick. You know, his handle is at callme_SOS. He's a writer over Rotoballers. He's a writer of Fancy Pros, a six-pack. What's really neat about Dennis is he was, at least to me, I get impressed pretty easy, you can tell. But with Dennis, he was a top 10 offensive ranker and a top 10 defensive ranker last year. So he's a heavyweight in my book. Anytime I get Dennis on, I appreciate him. 1.3 is, of course, John Gosser. He's the senior writer over at Dynasty Nerds. 1.04, we got another Dynasty nerd, Dwight Peeble, right? Peebles, he does the Campus to Canton. You know, he does the Dynasty Nerds. And me and you were just in a recent draft with him as well. Yep. That was a fun one.
Yep.
If anybody wants to look at that article, go over to Dynasty Nerds and check that out. 1.5 is Joseph Harlow. He's over there at IDP Plus. He's their rookie mag expert. He's in there, and he also does their waiver wire. So he's a pretty smart guy to be around. 1.6 is this IDP Hunter guy. I never heard of him before. We're just gonna skip him. I don't even know if that guy's competent. Probably, you know, there's always a weak link in every platoon. You know what I mean, Joe? 1.7, SC Romero. He's the co-owner, Fantasy Football Universe. Loves talking IDP. He's got an excellent YouTube channel right now for the audience. Please check that out. I've been on there a couple times now. And he's also over at the League Winners and RPO Football. 1.8, we got Justin, the Debbie Grind, Campus to Canton, and also the G5 Hive. 1.9, Alex Michael. A lot of people don't know Alex, very underrated. He's over at the Six Pack here. He does our sit starts. He does our position battles. He's over in Germany, and I think, you know, every time I talk to him, he's hiking somewhere. He's in Thailand. He's always doing this cool guy stuff. I just wish I could do that in my 20s and 30s, right? But Alex is a good writer, and he's a contributor all over the place. And we'll talk about some of his picks. I didn't even know some of these guys. I'm like, dude, can you give me a write-up? I was very impressed with what Alex did in this draft. 1.10, Jamie Perot going for 2. And he's also an IP creator over here. This is going to be his first year. He's a podcaster too, Joe. He does the Fantasy Cheat Sheet and the Sunday morning sit start show going for 2. Then there's this 1.11 guy. His name's Joey the Tooth. I think that's a comic book character. I never heard of him either. Let's move on from him as well. And last but certainly not least, a friend of ours. You ever heard of this guy, Jeff Pomazol? He's a character, ain't he?
He's a jerk.
I really enjoyed watching the banter between you two in that draft. I really did. I don't think anybody's ever heard of this guy. He's kind of an unknown. No one ever. There's a show that he's on. I don't know. No, for real though. But Jeff's a great guy. He's on the IDP show. He does the after show, I believe.
Yep.
And then I know Jeff from last year. He does the waiver wire article, and you guys have that. You guys send that out in the crack of dawn.
Yeah,
And I send mine out the crack of dawn. So me and him are usually on Twitter late at night, roving, trying to get our articles together. I think we're one of the first couple that actually get it out.
Yep.
So I've known Jeff a while. He was the Hulk Hogan in our Survivor Fest. And then we gave him the snake draft. This is a snake draft from 1.2 to 2.0. What were you saying, Joe?
Jeff, he did a lot of shorts last year, IDP shorts. Like he was doing the shorts, and those were great.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, he does a lot of good stuff. He's come on my show before. He's got a lot of good takes. I enjoy actually everybody in this draft. You know, I have a personal respect for it. I appreciate everything you guys do. So I look forward to great content. So for my audience, you guys are in for a treat. I really think your drafts, they don't look like this. They're going to be somewhat close to it. Of course, we did a snake draft. We did 3 rounds. Me and Joe are going to give our analyzation of what we think, how things went. And then, of course, you know, I guess we'll throw some honorable mentions. I guess we'll start. Are you ready, Joe?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll read the first round off here real fast, and then I'll tell you. Tell me what you think. Big Steve, he went 1.1. He went Jared Verse. 1.2, Dennis went Dallas Turner. 1.3, John went Latu. 1.4, Dwight went Edgerrin Cooper. 1.5, Joseph Harlow went Chop Robinson. 1.6, I went Tyler Nubin. 1.7, Junior Colston. 1.8, Trevin Wallace. 1.9, that's Wallace. Peyton Wilson. That Alex took that. 1.10, Jamie took Cedric Gray. Joey the Tooth, 1.11, Darius Robinson. That's a good pick. And then Jeff with the back-to-backs. I'll just do them both here. He did 1.12, Byron Murphy, and he did 2.0, Jonah Ellis. Any thoughts, any observations there for you? What'd you see? What'd you like?
I love Jared Verse going first overall. He's actually my one as well. I love the landing spot and with the Rams. Like that Rams defense at the beginning of last year, I looked at it and I was like, this is absolutely horrible. But then you have Byron Young. He emerges as an actual great fantasy asset. Like he was actually a usable edge on an almost weekly basis. He started off real hot, kind of hit a lull in the middle of the season, but he started coming back around again at the end of the season. Kobe Turner was a surefire defensive tackle one pretty much all season, and it kind of alleviated the stress of watching Aaron Donald go on that team because Aaron Donald left, but Turner was nasty. So you look at this defense now, so you have Young and Turner from last year, and then you bring in Jared Verse in the first round this year, and then they trade back up and they grab Brandon Fisk versus teammate as the other defensive tackle. So now you have a first and second year guy on the edge and a first and second year guy as defensive tackle, all with great draft capital, all playing well. And it's all of a sudden a very intriguing young defense. So that Rams front four is young and impressive.
You know what? It's interesting you said that because my first observation, and I was going to go there as well, Big Steve, he had it right off the bat. He had the top pick. He could add anybody he wanted. The casual fan, most places have Dallas Turner 1. I don't. I have Jared Verse as my number 1. I'm so refreshing to hear that you said it too, because I didn't know how you were gonna do that. But Jared Verse in college, you have to go back 2 years ago now. In college, when he was supposed to come up the first time, he was considered to come. He was higher ranked than Aiden Hutchinson, Boye Mafe. He was a top 12 pick. For some reason, he stayed in college. He ended up with 9.5 sacks. I mean, that still is a good enough year. But, you know, it's an off year for IDP, what have you, whatever. But a lot of people, a lot of sites are pushing Dallas Turner as their 1. I'm like, hold on, pop your brakes. You don't know about Verse. And Verse got that DLLB indicator, which we all love. He's going to the Rams. You alluded to it. I said the same thing you did. I did all these player articles earlier in the year. The Rams were the 20th ranked defense. Good, but not great. There was enough. They got enough offense to go to playoffs. But that defensive line wasn't the problem. The pass rushing, they were ranked 12th. Right. Pass defense rushing, if you will. But yeah, so add another piece, and they got another guy we can talk up a little bit later on in this draft, right? He may not play. He may not replace Aaron Donald, but I mean, together as a joint team. You know what else I'm excited about? This is the first time the Rams had a first-round draft pick in 6 years, and they hit it out of the park. They hit it out of the park with the guy. you know. But yeah, that was definitely my first observation. Strategy wise, and we've done enough of these. I don't really care so much about the 1.1, 1.2. I kind of want to get the 1.3 in IDP leagues because I'm kind of going to like play poker with you. I'm going to wait you out because some people like Latu higher. I mean, heck, the NFL did. They took him one. Some people, majority of people crave Turner. We like Verse. I want one of those guys one way or another. I was so mad before we did the show because we did that. We did that little guy rush. We did the 8-bit guys. To pick our draft order. I'm all the way somewhere in the middle. I'm like, I'm not going to get an elite town unless I try to go cheeky here and kind of move it around.
Right.
But yeah, those top 3 picks, I think that's the way it's going to go in any order. What says you? Anything else in this round you see or you noticed?
No, I mean it's all pretty legit. I think Trevin Wallace going before Peyton Wilson and Cedric Gray maybe a little early, but I mean it's nothing to take away from Wallace. It's just he's in a little more of a crowded spot rather than, I mean, Cedric Gray, all he has to beat out is Jack Gibbons, and then he's playing next to Kenneth Murray. So it's like he doesn't really have much talent in front of him.
You're being kind to me right now because I'm saying if I want to be critical, 1.6 is a little high when I took Newman. You can usually get him middle of the first, like maybe 1.8, 1.10 range. The reason I did it, though, I'm sitting in the middle of this draft, and I know historically this is probably one of the weaker drafts. I'm going to go back to 2021 when Parsons came out. This is probably one of the weaker IDP drafts that I've seen in a while, and the NFL confirmed it. We didn't have many picks, right? The first round anyway, right? So I kind of wanted a top guy, and when you kind of look at this draft class this year, it runs deep on defensive linemen, good enough defensive tackles, and good enough corners. So I'm like, all right, what don't they have? I don't really care for these linebackers. I don't.
Yeah.
I know Newman is my top guy, and I didn't want to take a chance with these runs that are about to come up. I didn't want to take a chance with a DB2. So let me just solidify, let me hammer this down, and I'll come back around and see what else is left on the board. So that's kind of why I did it.
Newman's my easy safety one in this draft. Like he's leaps and bounds better than any of the other safeties to me. What I did notice actually going through the draft though and doing my big board with Kyle is I actually like a lot of the landing spots for the safeties this year. Like the talent wise isn't there, but the landing spots are actually all pretty good. So there's probably a lot of guys that weren't even drafted in here that we could do as honorable mentions that are actually they might get playing time as a rookie.
I was on the same page as you for like honorable mentions because there's like, I don't go as deep as you guys do with the corners, but there was like 8 guys that I loved. And just what you just said now, Newman's going into the Giant spot, which is going to be McKinney's. All his snaps are gone, right? Yeah. You got Arnold with the Lions, desperately needed. You got Cooper DeJean with the Eagles. He'll probably play nickel, but guess what? That's where he excels at. He was a really great nickel. I'm excited about that too.
So I heard
who else they got?
Safety. Let's see. Let's look at some of these landing spots.
Hicks with the Chiefs was a good one, and Cole Bitcham of the Bill. Like I was excited. You hit on the head. Every single one of those I loved.
So you have Javon Bullard in the second round to Green Bay. So you have Jaden.
I brought him up in after the combine. Bullard actually excelled at the combine. I just don't know who the DB2 is, but every single one of those spots was great.
Right. Callan Bullock in Houston. So who's Jimmy Ward, who's always injured. So you have Callan Bullock, he's going to play free safety because Jalen Petre, he's going to move back to that strong safety role most likely because last year he was okay. He still played well, but I think the reason they pulled him back away from the box a little bit is because that missed tackle rate was terrible as a rookie. Sure, he had 130, 140 tackles, but his missed tackle rate was 23%. It was not good. He was all over the ball, but he just couldn't make a tackle. He should have had 160 plus tackles.
And then of course Mitchell with the Eagles, they have 2 30-year-old cornerbacks there. I mean, they're probably going to rotate it out. I mean, they landed exactly where they wanted to. Now I'll tell you what I didn't like. I didn't like where a lot of these linebackers went. Colson with the Chargers, I'm okay with because I can see him getting instant success.
Yep.
I don't know what to make of a couple of them, and I guess we'll hit them up. what's his name, Lafayo, the Cowboys. I don't even see that going anywhere. He didn't even his metrics weren't even well. I think that was a wasted pick.
I do too,
Yeah.
and the fact that they really only play one linebacker. Honestly, Donovan Wilson moves up from safety quite often, and they already have Damon Clark, and they just signed Eric Kendricks. So it's I'm with you. I feel like it was a wasted pick.
I do like this first round in regards to the shot order, the grouping of how the defensive linemen dropped, because that's what I've been looking at. I'll tell you my strategy in a second. We'll get to the second, but Jared Verse, Turner, Latu, Chop Robinson's an easy fourth. I get it. I get the concerns. I really like Darius Robinson, and he's going to the Cardinals, which I did the article review on them. I have no idea what the heck they're doing. I don't know if you watched any Cardinals football last year. They're trying to do the Fangio 7 when they go back. They had 3 guys rushing, 6 guys going back, or 7 guys going back. No, 8 guys going back. Excuse me, 8 plus 3. But anyway, they were just running it down their mouth. And Robinson can play. He can play all the techs. He can play them all. He's a 2-gap 8 there. I kind of like him as a real life player anyway. I don't know how it's going to translate this year. And of course, Brian Murphy. But what are your thoughts on those guys?
It's like he could play anywhere across that line. They have, outside of BJ Ojolari, they have 0 pass rush. So wherever they want to line him up to get him at the quarterback, they're going to do it. They need to do it because they need to get at the quarterback badly.
So I don't know what kind of the 2.1. I love his Murphy pick on Jeff. The 2.1 Ellis. Mm-hmm. I'm a little concerned with, and I don't want to bag. I don't like bagging players, especially young kids when they come out. I just don't know how that's going to go. They already have Zach Allen there, and I don't know if you noticed. I watched the draft tooth and nail, pun intended. Right, I watch it straight the whole time. They traded a really unknown, sneaky trade right now. Jonathan Franklin Myers from the Jets went over to the Broncos. Mm-hmm. I love that player. He just doesn't get any love, any reps. So I'm in the middle of a 32 draft right now. I quickly scooped him.
He doesn't like pop.
I quickly scooped him up before PFF or our lads kind of had him on thing. And he looks like he's the starter right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how Ellis projects. Ellis got a lot of attention. He was a national spotlight treasure for like 2 games. He got 5.5 sacks. Right. Most of his statistics came out of those 2 games. I wrote a whole article about it. So right. I'm not sure. Once I get down here to Ellis, I think I have Trice over Ellis. But once I start getting Ellis, I get a little bit nervous. So I like to get my DLs early. What says you?
Yeah, Ellis. I think it was a little early for Ellis. I mean, especially with the Broncos talking, they're probably going to move Drew Sanders to edge. So I don't know where playing time is going to fit in for Ellis too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has good draft capital, 3rd-round draft capital, right? Ellis went in the 3rd. Mm-hmm. It was the 2nd or 3rd for Ellis, but I don't know when his playing time is going to come. That's the problem. And when I'm drafting rookies, I like to find guys who at least have an opportunity, especially if in the first 2 rounds, they have an opportunity to play as a rookie. And then once I get in that 3rd and 4th round, that's where I'm looking for guys who I can stash taxi squad, because it's tough. Like, it's tough to draft a rookie and just watch him not do anything. So if I'm sitting there in the 2nd round, I'm looking at a guy who's going into a crowded room, I'm probably going to pass on him unless his talent is off the chain. And I had pre-draft, I think I had Ellis. He was my 7th or 8th ranked edge. But with landing spots, I think he kind of moved back for me.
I love doing like player profiles and rankings in the offseason, but then like landing spots change it all, but at least we know the players. Right. But I was going to tell you, I had Trice, which I love that pick, which I'll get to. Trice and Braswell. I had him ahead of Ellis. So I had him kind of on the cusp of the 10, but I get why people were doing it. I really do. So let me read you the 2nd round here. So, as we said, Jeff, 2.1, he took Ellis. Joey the Tooth here took Braylon Trice, and I'm kind of shocked he didn't dip into the 1st round. So I think you got 2 good 1st round value right from the jump. Mm-hmm. And then Jamie ends up taking Chris Braswell. That's another sneaky player I kind of enjoy. We'll get to him. Alex, he goes after the Arnold. He starts the DB run early. He didn't care. He didn't hold one bit. And then we got Justice here. Justice takes Knight, the linebacker, to Seahawks, And then we got Romero. Romero takes, well, I don't even know how to say the name, but, I already bagged on it. Lafayette of the Cowboys, if I'm saying that right. I'll tell you what, on my shows, there's not too many trolls. There's not too many critics. But damn, I can't spell, and they'll let me know it. I was saying, like, I misspelled Micah. I said Mika. I'm like, dude, you're an omen. You don't know. I don't edit anything. We just kind of just roll with it. But yeah, I will misspell a word. By the time I get to know who the player is, he's out of the NFL anyway half the time. Let's be real, And then this IDP Hunter guy, he takes Newton. I'll justify that in a second. Then we got Harlow with Nealon, which I thought was a really pick there too. And then we got Dwight. Dwight takes Cooper Jean. Mr. John here. John takes Hicks, followed by Dennis takes Cole Bibb, as you were talking about. And then Steve Scholes at Big Steve FF here. He's having himself a draft. He takes Bullard and matches him with Verse. So that's our second round. Anything you want to kind of get into here?
Trice, I think, landed in a great spot with Atlanta.
Excellent.
Because they needed somebody who can create pressure, and he was, he was number 2 in pressure rate, and he was number 1 in pass rush win rate last year in the FBS. He's not like an athletic pass rusher, but he's right. A demon. He's just a beast. He loves contact, and he wins at the point. Like, he's just powerful. His hands are strong. And he's the type of guy who's just going to create pressure. Whether he gets the sacks or not, I don't know. But the Falcons just needed somebody who's going to create pressure, and he's that guy.
I took pride in this. I wrote an article for the Six Pack this season, and I don't ever think it's been done before. But I'm like, the cover was a picture of Contra. I don't know if you remember Super Contra, up, down, left, right, BAB, select, start. I wanted to come out with cheat codes for each position. And I don't know what I just came to me. Sometimes I'm driving or I'll come to cheat codes because the combine was coming up, and I'm like, cheat codes per position. So what positions pop to you? And I'm like, defensive lineman, I don't care how slow he is. Is he a player? 3-cone drills. This guy was great at 3-cone drills. This guy was good at, and then like the shuttles are really good for linebackers. And I kind of went through and I started doing it. I'm like, oh, wait. Defensive linemen with 3-cone drills, and it's in the article. If you go back the last 20 years, if a guy makes, I forget what it is, X or lower, he's a Hall of Fame player, usually historically most of the time, or they just, had some setbacks, injuries. But yeah, I don't really fault these guys if they're not fast. He's a good player. You can see it on tape. You can see it in film. He's an overall really good player. But yeah, I don't know if it'll translate to sacks, Same thing with Braswell. Braswell can play every single tech.
Right.
And I know you're a tech guy. I love it. He interviewed. He played 4. He played 5. He played 3. You put him anywhere, and it's cool. He's on the Bucks. How's that for a landing spot? No more Shaq Barrett. That Joe Tryon experiment did not work. They were using him as a joker last year for a lot of the year. So he's going to a team that can use. Not the most, well-rounded athlete, but he's good enough. He's good enough to get the job done. So all of this right here, I'm excited about. For me, cornerback, I'm not necessarily a guru at corner, so it's Steelers' choice with that. But I really like the Trice Braswell run there that you guys started.
Yeah, Braswell. What I like about Braswell that not many people really talk about enough is his ability to understand zone coverage. Like, you watch him drop when he was in Alabama, he actually dropped in coverage. It's not like he was just a guy, an edge that was just like a dummy dropping back in coverage because the coach asked him to. He actually understood what he had to do. An NFL coach is going to love that. Like, we've already seen with Joe Tryon that he's not really what they thought he was going to be. So if you have a guy who already has shown he's got a 3-down skill set, no matter what, he could push Tryon for time like right away. So if he
I don't know
good camp, he could push.
I don't know if you notice about the coach. That coach, he knows his defense, right? Mm-hmm. He can get work out of lesser players. And that's what he did last year with Tryon. He's like, look, I'm going to move you around. Mm-hmm. I'm going to move you here and here. And unpredictability, that's your game. You're not really strong. It's funny, talking about the Bucks 2 years ago, they really didn't have anybody. That was a weakness. Now they got Yaya and the other guy there, can't Yancey, whatever that Yancey. and then they got this and that. Yeah, so they're going to be pretty exciting to me to watch, especially with Bradwell, who's just a baller. So
Yep.
I'm excited about that. I took a swing at mine. Let me just justify it here. When we were doing early drafts this year, I'm going to say Newton was going first round. He was going to top 5. He really was. What's interesting, everyone hears about the edge class. Everyone hears about the DL class. It's a great class, Joe, but it's a good, decent defensive tackle class. Yeah. If you go back 2 years ago, there's a lot of 5-star pedigree in this defensive tackle group. There's a lot of great – this was supposed to be a great defensive tackle class, but what ended up happening last year as this position goes and as seasons go, a lot of these players had moments – and then they faded away. And then they had moments and they disappeared in key games. Originally, Johnny Newton here out of Illinois, he was the top player and he got hurt right before the combine. When you look at PFF, and I know you do, Macri's amazing. I have an entire show just because of Macri. So next time you see him, I don't know him personally, just tell him what's up. But yeah, Macri did a whole spread on this guy. PFF had him as the highest graded interior rusher in that whole draft class. He's got a fracture, so I know it's going to take a little bit of time. But the key things here that I'm thinking about, this is a dynasty stash for me. You got coach who knows how to use players, right? And then on top of that, they paid all that money to pay. I can see Allen getting the door next year and this guy getting that spot instantly. If you look at the Commanders draft class, they just got a bunch of players. They'll figure out how to sort them. But that's my guy. This late in the draft, Murphy respectfully went first. But once the run on defensive lineman kind of fades out, I'm going for tackle. What says you, Joe?
Oh, I love Newton. Newton's great. The landing spot's a little tough, but like you said, Jonathan Allen, what's he, 29-30 this year? So I wouldn't be surprised. Like you said, Payne got paid, and I wouldn't be surprised if they let Allen go or if they even traded him at the deadline to try to get something for him, because they're not going to be competing this year. No offense to Washington, but they're not going to be. I don't think they'll be a playoff contender, not in the NFC East. But so get what you can for him while you already have his replacement.
He's 29. I just looked it up. You are absolutely correct. And then I did another article on age cliffs last year, and I kind of re-edited for this year. When you look at this position, it gets better with age. 26, 27, 28, that's your peak. 29, the plane starts to get a little fuzzy. It starts to crash, right? You want to get off these guys between 30 and 32. That's the last little bit of value. So yeah, I feel like that's it works. And I think this is the heir apparent. So this may be a taxi stash if you do that, Another thing here, what I notice with trends and teams, it looks like the Washington Commanders, they just pretty much said, screw the players we have, screw the last regime. I'm going to draft their replacements. I'm going to take the best player on my board. And I know I have these players. That's really the only position they have that's kind of locked down. But linebacker too, I can say. But, hey, I'm just going to get my own players in here, and I'm going to move them around how I see fit. So I see that as a long-term dynasty stash. But getting them at 2.6, I think that's a steal, considering there's guys we've seen go ahead of him that, I just don't make sense to me,
Yeah, 100%.
Nealon was a fun character to me. I kind of did a tweet on this. He beat Braswell in some combine stats, and then he beat Verse and he beat Turner on certain cone drills. So if you kind of put it all together, if you kind of piece it and squint your eyes, Nealon looks like he's, middle of the pack guy. But when you put it all together, I'm like, well, he has quality here. He excels here. I don't know where Dallas would play him, though. I don't know what they're going to do down there. Maybe replace.
I wrote an article about, because you can start to see it's a little bit of a shift. There's a lot of teams that do pass rushing rotations now. It's no longer you have your two edge defenders playing like 70% of snaps. You have guys, like if you looked at Dallas, you had Micah Parsons was like 72%. They had 5 edge defenders all over 30% of snaps. So it was Sam Williams, Dexter Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Micah Parsons, all 5 over 30% of snaps. and I think all 5 had 4 or more sacks. So you look at Dallas now, Dexter Fowler's gone, Dorrance Armstrong's gone. They're both over in Washington now. It's going to be Sam Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Micah Parsons, but there's still 2 other guys who are eating up 30% of snaps missing now. In comes Nealon, who already has good pedigree. We'll see what Sam Williams does. Sam Williams has looked good in his time, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nealon saw a 35% snap share his rookie year, just because he's in that pass rush rotation.
Yeah. So, okay, that does make sense. Yeah. And one thing, Coach Quinn, because, that's who was doing the rotation. They had what's called NASCAR package down there with Dallas, which they were running people around. He didn't do that in Seattle. He had a Legion of Boom cover 3 kind of scheme. The thing about Quinn is he's such a chameleon. I don't know what he's going to run with the Commander. You can kind of tell. Luvu's more of a pass rush guy. Wagner's more of an old school tag. I don't know, but it's kind of exciting to see these pieces kind of go and play. And I have a sneaky suspicion when Newton's healthy again, he's going to be a key part of this team long term. So if talking dynasty, yeah, I will sneak up and get 6. There's a couple guys like that for me. So when the edge runs, I kind of go after the tackles. That's kind of my strategy this year. What's interesting coming up here? There's a pretty pink run, right, with defensive backs. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to take note of that. When you look at there are in the second round, there are 5 of the next out of the 9 picks, 5 of the 9 are defensive backs. And if you want to go and bleed into the third round, 5 of the 8. So there's a run in this draft bubble, this draft pocket, if you will, and it's kind of dealer's choice. And what you alluded to earlier, look at all these players, well, they have them in excellent landing spots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a ranking preference. I really don't. I guess the order is kind of good. Okay, Arnold, DeJean, Hicks, Bishop, Bullard. Is that the way you would have, in Kitchens, I guess, is that the way you would have envisioned it? How do you have these guys kind of ranked?
I still like Cooper DeJean as my 1, just because he's so talented.
Oh, do you?
He's so talented. Probably I'm going to bring Cole Bishop in as my 2, just because Poyer's gone. Micah Hyde, I believe, is gone. I mean, they just signed Taylor Rapp, but outside of that, they don't really have anybody else. So does Rapp play free? I mean, they play more of a cover 2 now, so it's going to be almost like it's going to be your base cover 2. So you don't really have anybody playing in the box or anybody playing deep. So it's probably going to be Rapp and Bishop. So I like that. Jaden Hicks in Kansas City is nice because, I mean, they have Eric Reed. They just got rid of L'Jarius Sneed. So Trent McDuffie's going to be in the nickel. So you have Eric Reed and probably Jaden Hicks, Brian Cook maybe, who was out of Cincinnati a couple of years ago. They're all going to be battling for a position, but Hicks has the potential for playing time right away. Arnold, I love Arnold.
See, and
DB. He literally can play anywhere.
Where do you have Arnold ranked?
Arnold, he's probably my 4. He's probably my 4. Even that.
I don't really care for slot guy, outside guys. Yeah,
but okay. I mean, he can even play safety if you want. He can switch to safety. He can play the nickel. He can play outside. Some of these outside guys are worth it depending on the league you're in. If you have guys where you have passes defended, scored high,
true,
it makes cornerbacks very relevant. But it gets kind of once you get down past that, it kind of gets like take your pick, really.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I justified Newbin so early. Like, okay, he's my clear-cut DB1. The rest of these guys, you can make a case. Who's your D2, 3, 4, and so forth. It's kind of why I did it. I kind of be part of that run and guess wrong, I do agree with you in that batting order. I think I have DeJean next. I really like where Hicks is at. I do like the Bishop, the potential. Arnold, a 4 sounds good, a 3 or a 4 to me. Mm-hmm. Bullard's definitely the last one to me. And the only reason is, by default, he's going to be at best a DB2. You got McKinney taking the snaps. And then there's another guy there with the Packers, really low key. Anthony Johnson, I think, or Antonio Johnson. He got like 60-70% of snaps last year. They really like that guy. So he may end up actually being a 3rd in the rotation. So I don't know, but I like Buller as far as an athlete, as far as a specimen goes, because he really went off. He really did some good things to combine. But yeah, the landing spots for the other guys slightly ahead. What's that?
Plus, you got the good draft capital.
Oh yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah, that too. So I guess we can do our final round here, and then maybe we can kind of put some feelers out there for who you would take. So we had the 1.1. Big Steve took Braden Fisk, which honestly I'm surprised he made it that long. But anyway, 3.1, and then we got Dennis, who took Isaacs, and then we got over 1.3. John takes Trotter, and then 1.4 Dwight takes Kitchens, and then 1.5 Joseph, he takes Andre Booker, which made me upset because I kept alluding to earlier. I kept telling you guys, oh, there's a great run on DL. Well, that tier 2 second, that's who I was targeting. I missed it by 1. Don't you hate that? I always miss it by 1. So I end up taking Sweat here. I'll justify that in a couple minutes. This is why I did it. But I take Sweat at the 3.6. And then, when you get this late and stuff, Romero takes Hopper, who, he was a top 5 finalist for the Buckus Award. If you're into this linebacker draft class, I'm not per se, but some people are. I'm not knocking it. 1 point, Justin, he takes Hunt. It's another wild card I kind of was interested pre-draft. 1.9, Alex Michael here takes, and this one shocked me. I thought I did some good analysis, but I didn't even know who Rolando Green is. I asked him to do the write-up, and I'll put it in my article, I promise. Did you know who that was? I didn't know who that was.
Well, I'm a 49ers fan, so.
Oh, my. Okay, yeah, say no more. So you know who he is. 1.10, Jamie takes Tommy Eichenberg. I thought that was decent. And then, of course, I know you're going to talk about this one because he's not getting a lot of love, and yet he's a highly coveted, highly pedigree Mr. Rook here. We'll talk about that in a second. I'll let you do that one. And 1.12, the man, the legend, old Jeff here takes Quentin Mitchell, last of the very good corners, in my opinion. This round, anything jump out to you?
I love the Austin Booker pick. Getting him at 3.5.
I love it too.
It's great. I mean, he landed in a great spot.
I can't believe he made it that long.
I know. I was actually surprised that
Good job, Joseph.
Went that deep. He went to 3.11. I mean, he had virtually first round draft capital. I mean, what was he, the first pick in the second round, and they traded up for him. He goes on a defensive line that's bare on the interior. I mean, Grady Jarrett's he's on the tail end of his career. Who else do they have? David Onyemata. Was he there last year? I don't even remember if he is there anymore. I mean, he's also in his 30s. So
yeah, he played in and then they were a 4-3 last year, if I'm not mistaken. They're switching to a 3-4 this year. But yeah, he was there.
So I mean, Brook, he could literally in the 3-4, he can play defensive end. He doesn't have to be he's not going to be your nose tackle. He's going to be your defensive end. He's going to be your strong, athletic, powerful. I think at the combine, he ranked as the #1 athletic testing defensive tackle, interior lineman. So to have him go to a team that is bare at defensive lineman and then get him in the end of the third round, I think it's freaking great.
Heck yeah. So what jumped out to me, and I'll defend it. I'm on this defensive tackle run, and I'm seeing Sweat. A lot of people had him high as like a top 3, like during the Senior Bowl scouting. I really didn't, but I'm looking at the runs, and I'm seeing this guy. He's 6'4", 362 pounds. And the landing spots, the Titans. Tom Kissenberry, he did a great little tweet that I shared a while back. Did you know the Titans had 30 starters? Or actually, I don't want to say start, but they just had 30 rotational players on IDP last year. They couldn't keep people healthy. They kept moving around. Well, they're trying to bring in bodies. Cedric Gray was another pick for them. Jeffrey Simmons is nursing. I believe he's had a couple things going on, right? This guy's going to play. He's going to get 3 down ability. Now, he's not known as a pass rusher. Most of the leagues I'm in that are tackle, savvy, 1, 2, 3 scoring, you're getting 2 points per tackle. This guy's a penetrator. This guy will get to the ball. This guy's a sack. So I kind of put him there. I'm looking at 3 down players at this point. I don't know where Hunt's going to go with the Eagle rotation. That's why I kind of passed on that. Booker excites me too, but I know Sweat's there. I know they got a couple other things they're working. So I'm not sure how that's going to translate. And I told you my concerns with linebackers. So right there, that was my pick. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I hate it, but I'm certainly going to defend it. Another one I liked in this round. Let me see what else. We talked about Booker. Fisk. How did we get Fisk third? That's amazing. Early third, mind you, but that's amazing. I had Fisk, on that back end defensive line. But look at I think what it did, Joe, if you look at it, the defensive backs, everybody started doing dealer's choice, and that just pushed him deeper and deeper down the board.
Yeah.
Isaacs, I'm not that big of a fan on because that Ravens, that's a tough landing spot, in my opinion. I don't know how he's going to get into the rotation, how that's going to work. We'll see. And then Kitchens 3.4, he's okay. He's not the fastest guy. He's going to be a tackler. You got Cameron Curl there. So right. How much run are you going to get with these guys? I don't know. I guess I got to see it. I don't really like to make a lot of assessment until I see maybe second, third game in the preseason when I see all these pieces kind of play out. But what says you, Joe? Anything else in there that you see?
I don't mind the Isaac pick. If he went in the third round, so it means they actually have there's something about him that they like. So Clowney's gone. David Ojabo, he needs to show he's healthy. That's going to be the big key to Isaac seeing the field is Ojabo's health. Jason Owe, he hasn't really lived up to his potential. So it's kind of like the Ravens are still looking for that guy who's going to be their steady pass rusher, or at least a specialist. They still need a pass rushing specialist, which is what they were hoping Ojabo was going to be. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy. When he played, what do you have? 2 sacks and a forced fumble in 2 games, and then he was out.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the potential, but Isaac playing is, I think it depends on Ojabo's health. So the fact they took him an edge in the third round leads me to believe that they're slightly worried about Ojabo's health.
Gotcha. And I'll give you one more here. For the audience that's on Spotify, I can't see my screen. I literally just pulled up the Sleeper app, and we're just going over players. Jamie actually took a back-end player here that I thought was kind of interesting. Tommy Eichenberg, he has kind of the build of like a 1970s player. Mm-hmm. He's a slot linebacker. He's probably going to be a 2-down linebacker next level. But to have your final couple picks, take a shot at this guy, I like his stats. In college this year, he had 80 tackles, okay? 40 of them solo, 40 of them combined. What does that tell me? He's a pretty solid player to kind of gauge week to week, right? He's going to the Raiders who need help. Let's be real. They need bodies out there, right? On top of that, he had 80 tackles this year. He had 120 last year. Put it together. He's one of the few players that had 200 tackles in 2 seasons. Cedric Gray being another one. I think those are the only 2. I don't know. There's probably a couple others, but 200 tackles in 2 seasons coming in. If I had him as, in the top 10-ish linebackers. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for linebackers, which Jamie's team clearly was with Gray, Braswell being, a DLB eligibility, and then Eichenberg. Yeah. So I would think that's a pretty smart pick.
He's also an intelligent player. He ran that Ohio State defense for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's your, everybody's talking about Peyton Wilson being a potential green dot. I'm not so sure now.
Right.
You have green. He's probably what I think the Steelers run a 3-4, right?
Yeah, 3-4.
Yeah, so he's going to be an IL in the middle guy, whatever, and I don't know. They got players there, so I don't see that. If anybody's going to be a green dot, you're looking at third round, it's probably Tommy. Tommy can call some plays. I
wouldn't even be surprised if the Steelers went with Minka getting the dot. I've seen a lot of people start doing that, shifting back to the safeties. The safeties.
Yeah, but Belichick was notorious for that for years, making his safeties be the dot, and he would rotate his linebacker like a champ, So yeah, that's what I see there. Joe, just as a fun exercise, in no particular order, there was a lot left on the table that I thought, in my opinion, there were players out there that probably could have been justified as 4th round picks here. Mm-hmm. I'll let you go first. Was there any guys in particular that you were looking at that you're like, wait a second, I think somebody forgot somebody?
I talked about earlier, Kalen Bullock, the
Yeah.
safety out of USC, going to the Houston Texans. I mean, he's known to be a ball hawk. So, I mean, him landing with only having to beat out Jimmy Ward, I feel like that's a great landing spot for him.
It's an easy one.
Right.
Especially Ward's injury history. Yeah.
Just watch him hurt himself. Another safety, Tyke Smith. He goes to the Bucks. So right now, if you look at depth charts right now, I mean, it's all guesswork right now anyway, but they have him listed as their nickel corner. I wouldn't be surprised if they dabbled in moving Antoine Winfield back up towards the nickel, because he's fantastic at it. You can put Antoine Winfield really anywhere from any safety position to that nickel, and he's going to thrive. So put him where you need a player. Tyke Smith, he's probably going to see work right away. I mean, it's going to be Whitehead, Winfield, and Smith. So I don't know who's playing the nickel, who's playing safety, but he's going to see the field. Let's see, who else? Somebody that I'm willing to take a shot in late, like if you play really deep rookie drafts, Javon Solomon.
Nice. I was waiting to see if you got that one. Yeah, I like that one too.
So, I mean, the Bills, Von Miller's old. They lost Leonard Floyd. So they have this year, they re-signed AJ Epineza, and they have Gregory Rousseau, and then there's Von Miller, and they have Shaq Lawson. So they don't really have much pass rush potential. I mean, it's there, but you have aging, and then you have Epineza, who hasn't had more than 6.5 sacks in the season. Rousseau, he seemed almost like he took a step back last year. So if Solomon can come in and even just give like 30% snap share, but just as a pure pass rushing specialist, it's not a bad pick for at least best ball.
I had 7 guys in this kind of window, and I'll let you just shoot them down. You tell me what you think. But I was thinking of the Browns. Top to bottom last year, they were a good team. Mm-hmm. They were. If I was to critique a weakness, I'm not even going to go quarterback because whatever. But if I was to critique a weakness, I'd say linebacker. If you want to fill it up, they got a guy, Nathaniel Watson. Mm-hmm. Plays. He lands what I want. That could be something, 4th round for a team. There's another guy, JD. I don't know if I'm saying it right, JD Batroun or Batroun, however you say his name. He's playing. He landed with the Falcons. Troy Anderson hasn't been a bill of health for the pedigree they landed. I think teams are getting smarter and they're waiting a little longer with these guys, which is fine. You're an excellent guru with the corners, and I'm looking at this. I didn't see Wiggins or Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid man wasn't here, and I was shocked by that because a lot of people love Kool-Aid. He's going in drafts. So both Wiggins, Kool-Aid, JD, Nathaniel, and then I'll go back to the defensive tackle well here. There's a guy, Chris Jenkins. He's got that family pedigree. His dad was with the Panthers and Jets. He was always in the top 10 consideration. It's a very deep list at defensive tackle. And I'm not thrilled with this player, Wingo. I'm not thrilled with him. But if you go back 5 years ago, coming out of college or high school, if you will, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of college. So there's a pedigree there for him. And I'll give you another 5-star player. I didn't see Curtis Jacobs' name come up at all. And Curtis Jacobs, he came up a little bit, heavier at the combine, but he did everything exceptionally well. So Curtis Jacobs is another name. I think if we did an extra round, he probably would have got drafted. Yeah. There's easy another 10, 12 names. We could probably do another round if we wanted to. We're not going that deep, but I think those are within some wheelhouse that somebody's some good honorable name.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think this is our best draft yet because we've done a bunch this year. So I really was impressed with the work they put into this. I'm really impressed on you coming on the show with me. Anything you want to say? Any closing thoughts?
Just keep an eye out for our Mine and Kyle's Top 40 Big Board coming out. That'll be hopefully coming up by the end of this week. So we're just finishing up our consensus ranks real quick, just dabbling in a little bit, looking at depth charts as much as I can and believing as much of it as I can. It's kind of hard to actually believe any of it right now, but and then I have potentially starting my own podcast on my YouTube channel. It's going to be called Authentic IDP. It's just literally getting a couple guys on. We're going to talk IDP, and it's going to be no edits, no anything. So anything goes, anything flies, partially because I don't want to edit anything, but also because I feel like it allows you to just be yourself. Say, hey, just come on and just talk. You don't have to worry about, oh, we're going to cut this out. We're going to cut that out. I don't care. You can swear. It's not going to be under anybody's label. It's going to just be on my YouTube channel. So it's like, all right, if you drop an F-bomb, it's okay. They're just going to put an explicit label on there. So it's going to be, it should be a fun time talking with some guys, some people that I love talking to in the IDP realm, and just to show that a lot of people have this conception that people who play IDP and people that are in the IDP space are either crazy or well,
yeah.
It got a bad rep because everybody in IDP seemed to be like clashing with each other for a couple of years, and it's like it's not like that anymore. There was a couple of bad apples, and it's just the people in IDP are actually great. They're just degenerates. Like they love so much about fantasy football that they've now expanded. Instead of just playing 11 offense, they also do 11 defense. So
you're like me in a sense. I'm trying to bring this to a bigger audience, a bigger platform. 7 on 11s are so fun to me because, once the offense dips, I think you're in the draft when you get down to like the Mike Evans, Godwins. After that, I'm like, okay, do I want Jerry Jeudy or do I want this guy? So yeah, those are so fun. And thank you for doing that show. Hopefully I'll make the cut. Maybe you'll let me come on. Maybe you'll come on again. Would you come back on again?
Of course.
Excellent. I can't wait for that. You and Kyle are going to be the dynamic duo. I already can see it now. The other thing too, for the audience that can't see my screen on Spotify, I just wrote an article, rookie defensive lineman over at the Fantasy Six Pack. I kind of went deep. I like to go deep. I don't like to do just the what's the word I'm trying to say? Stars and glitter articles. I like to go a little bit deeper because, hey, for shallow leagues, this is the guy, medium guy, larger leagues. I kind of do the defensive lineman class and I kind of put them where I think based on their position, based on their spots. So go ahead and check that out over to Fantasy Six Pack. Joe, thanks for coming on with me. Closing thoughts. Excellent. Everything's excellent. Thanks for being here with me. If you don't mind, Joey the Tooth, can you tell the audience where they could find you?
Find me on Twitter at Joey the Tooth IDP, and you can find all of my written work and projections, rankings at footballguys.com. And you'll see me guest appearing with the IDP Show every now and then with Steve here, the IDP Hunter Podcast, and then various others. Actually, this Thursday I'll be with John Mack, the IDP Podcast. So we'll be talking rookie defensive lineman.
Heck yeah, sounds like fun. Well, I think we did enough bagging on Jeff's draft. So I think we did our job of analyzing this thing. For the audience at home, we'll see you next week. We're going to have a fantasy sports doctor come on. We're going to talk about known IDP injuries. But until then, enjoy Joey the Tooth and all of his great platforms. Take care, everybody.